Alright, we have one last thing to get to before we actually get into building a pretty cool, I hope, anyway, sample site. You know how things go. Um, so I'm going to navigate to this IM Site 1 folder, and I'm going to command click all four of the pages that we have made, and I'm going to right click and open with. If I just double click on these, they would open up in Safari or Firefox or whatever your default browser is. So I'm going to right click, open with, and go to Dreamweaver CS5. Notice how we have this all opened up, and I might just pick, obviously not our index page, let's do our services page, and let's come down below the contact here, and I'm going to press return a couple times, and we are actually going to go to insert, and we're going to go into table. Now first let me say tables are probably limited in use as of now. They get stuck in there occasionally. Back in the day when HTML was first about and being used a lot, tables were great, but now that we have CSS and other tools to work with, tables are very limited, and they're really a pain to use, but I do want to introduce them. So we're going to make this rows 4, columns 4. Let's go table width of 500. And notice we have border thickness, cell padding, spacing. We're not going to get into that too much right now, but I do want you to pick the top because you'll see the difference in a second. Notice that the top looks like the top row will be bolded, and it should even be centered. So we're going to call this caption interactive media, and this is what should appear in the top of the table actually. So once we have these settings set up, we're going to go ahead and press OK. And notice that yes, there we go. We have a table that's 500 pixels wide. We have the name of the table is interactive media, and you can type in whatever you want to here. Let's just type in August, September, October, and for the month of November that we are in. Notice how these are all centered, and notice how they are all bolded as well. If I come down to here, type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice how they are not bolded, and notice how they are also not centered. Now, we can change these in the future using some code, but I'm not a real big fan of tables, and I'm not a real big fan of using them in general. So, but if you look at the code view here, notice how the first row is th scope. You know, we start off with table width of 500, border of 1, and you can go in here and change that. You could change that to 300 or a border of 10 or whatnot. Notice how we have caption that's enclosed by a closing tag of caption. And if we change that to say hello world, we come back to the split view, notice that it changes. All right. Notice that we could put our strong tag in here. And if we come before the caption of strong and we click over here, notice that hello world is actually bolded now. And notice how each of these have a TR and a closing TR for this first row here. Then we add another row, a table row, and TD is for the cells, etc., etc. Closed out by the final TR, and then notice how we close out the table at the very end. So we open up with the table, we close with the table, and then we actually have TRs. And for every opening TR, we have to have a closing TR. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we also have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's very important to remember that. It's very important to remember this code. And again, you're going to be asked this. It's not like I don't expect you to know it. You're going to know it even though we're using Design View. And if we go to Save All and we preview this in a browser, notice there is our table. And again, our pages still all link to each other because we actually have made them link to each other. So from this, we're going to actually get into a CSS, and this is where the true power lies. And we're going to click back on our index page just so that that's the page that we actually see. That's the page that we're going to affect some elements here. But to do a CSS, we actually have to make a new file. And we're going to go to File, we're going to go to New, and we have all sorts of options down here. Well, if we're making a CSS, we could choose HTML and save it as a .css, but why create an unnecessary step? So from this File, New document, I'm going to select CSS, and I'm going to create my page. All right, now notice how we don't even have the option to click on Split or Design View. Okay, the CSS is strictly a code-based file, and up until this point, we've been able to see what we are doing. Well, now it comes into the nitty-gritty of some code, and you actually just have to know the code in order for it to work. All right. So what we have to do is we're going to go to File, Save As, and notice the extension .css. That means Cascading Style Sheet. And instead of leaving this untitled 1, we're just calling this styles.css. Now, we could take a CSS and make it an internal, but then that just adds more code to your index, contact, and about us pages and whatever that we don't need. Here, we can make this external style sheet that's still within our root folder and just link to it. And so it cleans up our page tremendously. We're going to place this style sheet inside our IAmSite1 folder and hit save. And notice over here, we actually have the styles.css. So what we're going to do is basically affect a few code elements on the page. We're going to affect the H1 tag, we're going to affect the P tag, and then we're going to do the UL and LI. Okay. So like I said, this is strictly code based. So you really have to know what you're doing. So if I'm going to do the heading 1 tag, which will affect any heading 1 that we have on our page, okay, I'm going to start off by typing H1. Then I'm going to hit space. Then I'm going to hit shift and open bracket. It looks like a curly bracket. And if you think of them in algebra or math terms, these were the brackets that contained like number sets of variables, things like that. All right, now I don't want my H1 tag to be black. I want my color to be, a different color. So I'm going to type in font, and notice that once you start typing in certain it gives us different variables, and honestly, font color is not what I wanted. We actually just want to type in, I want to back up, get out of this bracket here, hit an open curly bracket again. I'm going to type in color. All right, so this is going to be the property that we affect, in a sense. So if you want, you can go ahead and press return, or you can finish typing it out. Okay, notice what comes out after. It's a colon. And if you don't have this syntax right, it's not going to work. I'm going to type in the color blue. Or you could have picked a color. Okay, but after I type in my blue, I'm going to put a semicolon. So what we have is we have the element that we're going to affect, the property, which is the color, and blue is what's called the value. And then I'm going to end with a closing curly bracket. And so now we have a style that is going to affect this heading 1 tag. But as you notice, nothing has changed yet because we have not linked to that style. And that's what we will do next. Unfortunately, the bell just rang, so kids will be coming in, and I'm not going to record while they are in here. So I will pause this for a minute and pick up here in a second. So goodbye for now. we pick up where we left off, and Mary's laughing at me. Oh, now that's in the recording. Okay, no. Now we have to take this CSS style sheet and we actually have to link it to these other pages. And I think I've said this before, but you don't know how lucky you have it with this version of Dreamweaver, as in the olden days where everything had to be basically hard-coded. Still going to expect you to know it, but there are a lot of shortcuts that you can use with this program that make it easy. So I'm going to go back to index. And notice over here where it says CSS styles, where there's no styles defined. Where over here, if I click styles.css, it's here. Well, that's because we're on the page. Well, in the index page, there's nothing. And if I want my heading tag to be blue, then I need to link it. So I can come over here to where it says, if it says current, it should say all. And let's right click and let's choose attach style sheet. Now again, like I said before, you would have to go in here and hard code this by hand. I still expect you to know what it looks like if I have, to write it down, but this just saves you some time here. We want to link to it, and you could pick screen, although technically it doesn't really matter. You could leave it blank for all that matter. I'm going to click on browse, and notice it takes us to our root folder. Again, the importance of having a root folder. I'm going to navigate to the .css file, and we're going to choose. Once I hit OK, maybe something will happen. And notice our heading tag actually changed to blue. And we need to save this because we have a little asterisk. We've made changes. So we're going to take this and we're going to apply it to the other pages. So again, I'm going to click on services. I'm going to right click, attach style sheet, hit OK because it's going to bring up the last one that we've linked to. And when we're all said and done, we're probably going to have several CSS pages to link to, but for now we only have the one. And we're going to press OK. Again, services have changed. I'm going to go to contact, right click, attach style sheet, OK, contact changed, and about us, right click, attach style sheet, and about us has changed, and then we'll go up to file, we'll go to save all, and if we preview in the browser, notice it has changed. If I go to home page, services, contact, whatever, there we go. We're going to do one more little element here, I believe, and that has to do with our p tag. So I'm going to press return a couple times in our style CSS. I'm going to type in the letter P, space, open curly bracket, and I'm going to start typing in FAAM. And what Dreamweaver actually tries to do is it tries to guess what it is that you want to do. And this is exactly what we want to choose, is the font family. We want to change it from the default font to something else. So this is the property we're going to change. If I double click on it, notice it puts the colon. And now I can pick any font that I want. And I'm just going to go ahead and pick this Lucida Sans. Double click on it. And I'm going to put a semicolon and a closed curly bracket. And then what I need to do is go to File and Save. And notice that since I saved my CSS and these pages are linked to that CSS, that the font has actually changed, although we do have a problem here, and I don't know. Oh, okay, there we go. I thought we only had one paragraph, but we actually have two. So if I go to my web browser and open it up, notice that my font is no longer the Times New Roman default, which I believe is what it is. Notice all my links still work. Still goes to that PDF. It still goes to Google. And we have a site that works with a couple changes in our CSS. And as we go along, it's going to get far more complicated, but as long as you remember the basics and what the syntax is, you guys should be just fine. So we will leave it there for today, and we will pick up next time.